All, today we are going to handle the first lab session, that is realization of the basic gates. The basic gates are NOT, AND and OR. So the first gate is the NOT gate. So for that we need the pin diagram of the NOT gate. In the sense, the integrated circuit of the NOT gate looks like this. Okay, so you have the number, the IC number is 7404. So in this IC, integrated circuit IC, there will be 6 NOT gates. So it is as shown in the pin diagram. So one will be having the input, 2 will be having the output. Internally the circuits will be designed such that 1 is given as input, 2 is given as output. So like this we will be having 6 gates. Okay, so VCC is nothing but ground, VCC is nothing but plus 5 volts you are supposed to connect, 7 is ground. So for every input and output there will be a pin number as it is been given 1A, 1Y. In the sense 1 is input, 1A is input, 1Y is output, 2A is input, 2Y is output, 3A is input, 3Y is output, similarly the others. So that was the pin diagram, start Madhya. So that was the pin diagram and this is the actual pin, the IC which you are supposed to use in the lab, that is 7404. So it is 14 pin IC, okay. So 7 on each side, okay, you will get 14 pin. Okay, when you are supposed to see that this pin should be straight enough whenever you want to make a connection to the digital trainer kit. Okay, so this is 7404. So number will be placed on the IC. So you should be able to see the number and then you have to use the corresponding IC. Stop. So the next gate is the AND gate. So the AND gate will be having 2 input and 1 output. As we already done in the theory class, it is having 2 input and 1 output. So this goes with the pin diagram. The pin number is, the IC number is 7408. Please remember the IC number, it is 7408. So this is also 14 pin IC. 7 is connected to the ground, 14 is connected to VCC, that is plus 5 volts. Okay, 1 and 2 for first gate, as you can see, 1 and 2 will be the input for the first gate, 3 is the output. 4, 5 is input, 6 is the output. Similarly, the other 2 gates. This is the IC of 7408. So, as you can see, it is 7408. This is also 14 pin, 7 on each side. Okay. So, you have 7 pins on each side. So, this is 7408. The next is the OR gate. The third gate which we discussed is the OR gate. So, the IC number is 7432. 7432, you will be having 4 gates like the way we had for the AND gate, we will be having 4 gates. 1 and 2 will be input, 3 is the output, 4, 5 input, 6 is the output, 7 is ground and 14 is VCC. So this is the IC of 7432, the OR gate. So as usual, you will be having 7 pins, each on 7 on each side. So you have 7 pins on each side. Okay. So this is the digital trainer kit in which you are supposed to do the experiment. So, I will just give you the overall picture of what all parts are present in the digital trainer kit. Okay. So, as usual, this is the power cable. This is the power cable connected to the power unit. So, these are these ports. These ports are called as the input ports, and these red sockets that you can see is the output ports. So, these are the notches or the switches through which you will give the input. That is 0 or 5 volts, that is 0 or 1. So, what you see here, this whole block, okay, this is called one socket in other sense, wherein you are supposed to insert the IC. To insert the IC, you have a separate socket which you can see in the green color. It has a notch, okay. So, this is like this, you will be having many number of sockets or points where you can connect the IC. So, you have 4 above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 in the middle part and 1 the bigger one. Okay. So, this goes for 21 pin IC. All these first 4 are 16 pin IC. Okay. We are going to use both 14 pin as well as 16 pin IC. The last one, the bottom one is the only one which is having 21 pin IC. So, now we are going to realize the NOT gate. So, NOT gate IC number I mentioned, it is 7404. So, this is 7404. So, here in this IC, you have a small notch at the top. Okay, you have a small notch. Here you can see the small notch over here. okay, small notch, that should face north side. Okay, that should face to the top side of the kit in other sense. Okay, keeping this in this fashion. Okay, so this each of the pin should go to the socket. The socket will be having ports there. To that port your pins should go and place. Okay, keep the finger, just gentle press it and press this notch towards the north side. This locks the IC to the socket. Okay, so once it gets locked, it gets connected to the kit. Fine. So these 14 pins you have to make the connection as we had shown in the pin diagram. Fine. So for that we need patch cords. These are all the patch cords which will be having two ends connected with the pins. So you have the patch cords like this. Okay, so this is one point and this is the other point. So from one point you are connected, two important things you have to connect is ground and VCC. So ground, as you see in the pin diagram, it is always connected to 7th pin. So these are the pin numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Since it is for 16 pin IC, we are using 14 pin IC. 7404 is 14 pin, but the kit is having, the slot is having 16 pin. So leave these two empty. Getting? Once again I'll repeat, this point or this place, this slot is of 16 pin IC. We are using the IC of 14 pin. So you leave the last two, 8 and the 9th pin empty. You're not supposed to connect it to these 2 points. So end it at 7. If this becomes 7, this becomes 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. So you are supposed to neglect the last two. Fine. So first connect the ground. Okay. Second, connect VCC. VCC is 14 pin. So it goes to the last pin. So even though it is 16, it becomes 14 because you're leaving the last two. Okay. Now, according to the pin diagram of the NOT gate, 1 is input, 2 is output. Fine. So to one pin from one end of the patch cord or the wire goes to 1. Second end goes to the input pin. As I mentioned, these are the input slots to be given. Input sockets, input patches, sockets are supposed to give connected. Any one you can use. There is no restriction that you use specific number. You can use any one of the input socket. 2 is the output. So take the 2 pin or the one end of the patch cord connected to the second pin, and these are the output points. Okay, output LEDs in other sense. So to any one of the LEDs you can connect it. Fine. Okay. So now, as you can see, this is the input point. For this input point, you have to give the input either 0 or 1. Now it is 0 because LED is not on. If it is on, means you are passing plus 5 volts. Okay, so if it is 0, the output is high. According to the working principle of the NOT gate, it should be complementing the input. Input is 0, so output is high. If input is 1, output will be 0. So this is the working of your NOT gate. You are realizing the NOT gate using this 7404 IC. Okay, the next basic gate is 7408, that is AND gate. So we are going to realize how the AND gate works. Practically we will see how the AND gate works. As you can see, you have a notch over here. Okay, this should place towards north side. In the sense, you should plug in, fit in this fashion to the slot. Okay, so see that the notch is facing upwards. Okay, notch should be facing upwards. Then place the IC inside the socket, gently press it, then press the notch towards the north side. This fixes the IC into this slot. Now as usual, you should connect VCC and ground. Ground is always the 7th pin. As it is mentioned as it is given in the pin diagram, it is always 7th pin. VCC should be always 14 pin. So this is also 14 pin IC. So neglect the last 2 points or now last 2 pins in rather. So 7, this becomes 8. You are neglecting 8 and a 9. Okay. So it has 2 input as with respect to the working principle of the AND gate, 2 input and 1 output. So 2 input is pin number 1 and pin number 2. So one input I will take for pin number 1, connect it to one of the input slots. Okay. Then second input is another input, that is A. A is black, B is red I have taken. So A I have connected to the input line, B I will connect it to one more input line. Okay. 3 is the output. So 3 is the output, connect it to output pin. Fine. Now, so whichever pin you are connecting, the corresponding switch you are supposed to use. So I am using 4th and the 5th pin as input point. So I'm using the corresponding switches to give the input. Both are 0, 0. If input both are 0, 0, output is 0. If it is 0 and this is 1, then also output is 0. As with respect to truth table, input is 0 and 1, output is 0. If it is 1 and 0, then also output is 0. If both are 1, then the output is 1. So this goes with the working principle of the AND gate. So now the next gate, the basic gate is the OR gate 7432. So here also the notch is this side. The notch is this side. So we'll place it facing north. So place it in the socket, keep it, gently press the notch. Fine. The next is VCC and ground. Ground is always 7 pin. VCC is always 14 pin. Again I am repeating, leave these 2 pins empty, don't go to connect it. This becomes 7, this becomes 8 and goes above. Again this is a 2 input pivot IC. 1 and 2 is input, 3 is output. So connect pin number 1 input to any one of the input slots. Okay. Second pin connected to another input slot. Third pin number 3 is the output. So connect 3 to any one of the output slots. Okay. Now check for the input. If both are 0, 0, so 5 and 6 I have taken, the corresponding switch I am considering. So it is 0. If it is 0 and 1, output should be 1 according to the truth table, or according to the working principle of OR gate. Any one of the input is high, output should be high. So it is satisfying. So if this is 1 and this is 0 also, output is high. If both are high, so the output also should be high. So this is the working of the OR gate.